He swore he was loyal, that he'd never cheat, but one drunken night proved otherwise. I didn't suspect a thing until I found a receipt in his jeans pocket for a hotel room booked at 2 a.m. My heart pounded as I checked his bank statements. One charge, one night, one mistake. That evening, I casually asked, "What were you doing last Friday?" He smirked, "Just hanging with the guys." I slid the receipt across the table and whispered, "Then why did you pay for a room with a king-sized bed?" His face went pale, and that's when he knew his one night would cost him a lifetime. I never thought I'd be the one writing a story like this, but here I am, sharing the most painful experience of my life. Maybe putting it into words will help me process everything. So, here goes. I've been married to Daniel for 15 years. We met during our college days at the University of Washington in Seattle. He was this charismatic guy from Portland, always the life of the party, making everyone around him laugh. I was drawn to his energy, his zest for life. After graduation, we decided to make Seattle our home. We bought a charming house in the Ballard neighborhood, adopted a golden retriever named Max, and built a life together that, to me, felt nearly perfect. Daniel worked as a project manager for a tech company downtown, while I dedicated my days to teaching third grade at a local elementary school. Our routines were comfortable, perhaps even predictable. Weekends were our time, hiking in the Cascades, exploring the stalls at Pike Place Market, or simply enjoying a quiet evening at home with Max curled up at our feet. I trusted him implicitly. He was my partner, my confidant, the person I envisioned growing old with. But about 6 months ago, subtle changes began to creep into our lives. Daniel started working late more frequently. At first, I didn't think much of it. His job could be demanding, and occasional late nights weren't uncommon. But then it became a pattern. He'd come home well after dinner, often with the faint scent of cologne that wasn't his usual brand. When I inquired about his long hours, he'd dismiss my concerns with a tired smile, attributing it to looming project deadlines. I wanted to believe him. After all, we'd built a life together over 15 years. Why would he lie? One Saturday morning, as I was sorting through the laundry, I found a crumpled receipt in the pocket of his jeans. It was from the Fairmont Olympic Hotel downtown, time-stamped at 2:17 a.m. on a Friday night. My heart sank. I stared at that slip of paper, hoping it was some mistake. Maybe he picked up someone else's jeans by accident? But deep down, a gnawing feeling told me otherwise. I couldn't shake the unease. So, I did something I'd never done before. I checked our bank statements. There it was, a charge from the Fairmont Olympic Hotel on that same night. One charge, one night. My mind raced with possibilities, each more painful than the last. That evening, I tried to act normal, though my hands trembled as I set the table for dinner. Over our meal, I casually asked, "What did you do last Friday night?" Daniel didn't even look up from his plate. "Just hung out with the guys," he replied with a smirk. I took a deep breath, reached into my pocket, and slid the receipt across the table. "Then why did you pay for a room with a king-sized bed at the Fairmont?" I asked, my voice barely holding steady. His face went pale. He opened his mouth, then closed it at a loss for words. That silence spoke volumes. I felt a mix of rage, heartbreak, and betrayal wash over me. I can explain," he stammered. "Please do," I said, crossing my arms, bracing myself for whatever excuse he was about to offer. "It was just one night," he began, avoiding my gaze. "I was drunk. It didn't mean anything." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. One night? Didn't mean anything? Do you have any idea how cliché that sounds? He reached for my hand, but I pulled away. "Anna, I'm so sorry. I never wanted to hurt you." Tears welled up in my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. "You didn't just hurt me, Daniel. You shattered everything we built together." The days that followed were a blur of emotions. I vacillated between anger and sorrow, disbelief and numbness. Daniel begged for forgiveness, suggesting counseling, promising it would never happen again. But how could I trust him after this? I confided in my best friend, Lisa, who lived a few blocks away. She was furious on my behalf, offering me a place to stay if I needed space. I considered it, but decided to remain in our home, at least for the time being. It was Max's home too, after all. One evening, as I sat on our porch, watching the sunset over the Puget Sound, Daniel joined me. We sat in silence for a while before he spoke. "Remember our trip to San Francisco?" he asked softly. I nodded, recalling the weekend getaway we'd taken for our 10th anniversary. We had strolled through Golden Gate Park, shared sourdough bread at Fisherman's Wharf, and watched the sea lions at Pier 39. It had been a perfect trip. "I messed up, Anna," he continued. "I took our life for granted. I don't expect you to forgive me overnight, but I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make things right." I turned to face him, searching his eyes for sincerity. "I don't know if I can ever trust you again, Daniel." He nodded, tears brimming in his own eyes. "I understand, but I'm not giving up on us." As the weeks passed, we started attending couples therapy. It was painful, dredging up emotions and memories I'd rather forget. But it also opened up lines of communication we'd neglected over the years. I won't say things are perfect now. Trust isn't something that can be rebuilt overnight. But we're trying, taking it one day at a time. Therapy was harder than I thought it would be. At first, Daniel was eager. He showed up early, dressed like it mattered, speaking softly like he was rehearsing for forgiveness. Our counselor, Melissa, was patient. She asked the right questions, gave us homework. For a few weeks, I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe people really do change. Maybe this awful thing could turn into some strange turning point in our marriage. But the flicker didn't last. One night, after our third session, Daniel came home later than usual. Again. He said he stopped for a drink with a coworker, just one. But his breath said otherwise. And when he leaned in to kiss my cheek, I caught that same smell again. That unfamiliar, too sweet perfume. I didn't say anything that night. But the next day, I checked his phone while he was in the shower. I don't usually do that. I didn't even know his passcode until the cheating thing blew up, and he gave it to me to prove he had nothing to hide. He'd hidden plenty. There wasn't any scandalous message out in the open, but I noticed a contact saved under Mike T. Work had texts like, "Missed you today," and "Last Friday was perfect." One even said, "Can't wait to see you again." And the one that turned my stomach inside out, "Did she find the receipt?" I stared at the screen so long my hands started shaking. I didn't even realize the shower had stopped running. Daniel walked out, towel around his waist, and froze when he saw me sitting on the bed, holding his phone. "Who the hell is Mike T?" I asked. Silence. Then, "It's not what you think." "Oh, then what is it, Daniel?" "A book club." He snatched the phone from my hand, tried to keep his tone calm. "It's over. It ended. It was just texting." I didn't see her again after that night. "Her?" "So Mike T. is a woman now." He paused. "Her name is Tasha. She works in marketing." It was just physical. "You just said you didn't see her again." He looked away. "I mean, not after last month." I stood up, barely hearing myself breathe. "You're still lying to me. Even now." "No. I swear I ended it. It got messy. She wanted more. I didn't know how to stop it without making things worse." "Worse than what, Daniel?" "Worse than sleeping with someone else while I was at home thinking you were just tired from work." He didn't have an answer. He just sat on the bed, head in his hands, like the weight of it all suddenly hit him. But I had no sympathy left. He had already spent it all. The worst part wasn't the cheating. Not even the lying. It was the fact that I didn't recognize him anymore. This man, who once memorized my coffee order, who left sticky notes on the bathroom mirror that said, "You're magic," who danced with me in the kitchen when we were broke and had nothing but leftover pasta, this wasn't him. Or maybe this was him, and I'd just been too in love to notice. I moved into the guest room that night. I didn't leave the house right away. It still felt like my house, and Max was still there, sensing the tension, his tail drooping whenever we passed each other in the hall without speaking. Daniel kept going to therapy alone. He left notes outside the guest room door. Letters filled with regret, promises, the same phrases over and over. I'll fix this, I need you. Please don't give up on us. I didn't respond. Not yet. I wasn't ready. But then something happened that made everything worse. A letter came in the mail. Not from Daniel. Not from Tasha. From Tasha's husband. His name was Victor, and the envelope was handwritten, messy. I almost tossed it aside, thinking it was junk. But something about it made me open it. Inside were screenshots. Of messages. Pictures. Not just between Daniel and Tasha, but between Daniel and 2 other women. One of them I recognized. She'd been at his office Christmas party 2 years ago. I remembered shaking her hand. She told me she loved my dress. Victor had included his phone number. The letter ended with, "I thought you deserved the full story. You're not alone." I sat there at the kitchen table for a long time, the pages spread out in front of me, Max sitting silently at my feet like he knew I was breaking inside. And for the first time since it all began, I let myself cry. Not quiet, contained tears, but ugly, shaking sobs that came from someplace deeper than I knew existed. Daniel had lied. Again. And again. And again. And I had no idea how much more there was left to uncover. The next few days after Victor's letter were a storm I couldn't prepare for. I didn't reply to him right away. I wanted to. I stared at his number on the page a dozen times. But something inside me held back, maybe because deep down I wasn't sure I could handle hearing more truth. Or maybe I was still hoping stupidly that Daniel hadn't gone that far. Then, the next twist dropped, and it shattered any part of me that still wanted to believe in him. It was a Tuesday. I remember because I had just come back from school, exhausted, drained, and emotionally numb from faking smiles for a classroom full of kids who had no idea my life was unraveling. I walked in, dropped my bag on the floor, and there was Daniel standing in the kitchen like he'd been waiting. He looked different. Nervous. Sweaty palms, eyes darting around like he was rehearsing something in his head. "I need to tell you something," he said. I leaned against the counter, arms folded. "You've told me enough." "No," he said, voice cracking. "This is something else. I haven't been honest. About everything. There's more." My stomach twisted. "What now?" He took a deep breath. "Tasha's pregnant." I blinked. The words didn't register at first. It was like hearing another language. My ears heard him, but my brain refused. "What did you just say?" "She told me last week." I didn't believe her at first. But she sent me the test. "She says it's mine." I froze. I couldn't speak, couldn't move. Everything inside me just stopped. "She wants to keep it," he went on. "And I don't know what to do." I laughed. Not a real laugh, not a joyful one. One of those hollow, broken sounds that slip out when your soul is trying to scream, but all you have left is air. "You got your mistress pregnant?" I didn't mean for any of this to happen. "Oh, spare me that," I snapped. "You didn't mean to cheat on me. You didn't mean to lie over and over. And now a child? What, were you going for a full family on the side?" I panicked, he said. I thought maybe if I kept quiet, it would go away. "But she's serious. She wants to co-parent. And where does that leave me, Daniel?" He didn't answer. He couldn't. I packed a bag that night. Max and I left. I stayed with Lisa, and even though I felt like I was floating in a daze, at least I wasn't in that house anymore. But I still hadn't called Victor. That changed a week later. I was sitting on Lisa's couch, staring at the ceiling while Max snoozed at my feet, when I finally picked up my phone and dialed his number. He answered on the second ring. "Hello? Victor? This is Anna." A pause. "Then, I was hoping you'd call. We agreed to meet for coffee. Just coffee. Just to talk." It was strange, meeting the husband of the woman your own husband had an affair with. He looked just as tired as I felt. We sat at a little cafe near Green Lake and shared the ugliest parts of our stories. He told me Tasha had been cheating for over a year. That he suspected, confronted, forgave, too many times. "I thought I could fix it if I just loved her better," he said. "Turns out, some people just want to burn down everything no matter how much water you throw on the fire." We talked for hours. And weirdly, it helped. Talking to someone who wasn't judging me, who actually understood. We didn't pity each other. We just got it. But then he said something I didn't expect. You should know, Tasha isn't sure who the father is. What? I blinked. She told Daniel it was his. She told me the same thing, he said, flatly. That it was mine. The ground shifted again beneath me. So she's playing you both? He shrugged. Wouldn't be the first time. We agreed to keep in touch, mostly to update each other if anything new came out. We exchanged numbers again and left the cafe with this strange sense of solidarity. Then, 2 days later, I got a text from Daniel. It was a photo, a sonogram, and underneath it, the words, "I think it's real this time." I don't know what to do. That's when I knew he didn't even know if it was his. And worse? He wanted me to help him figure it out. The man who broke my heart in a hotel room at 2 a.m., the man who lied over and over again, was now asking me to be his moral compass for a child that might not even be his. I didn't reply. Instead, I took a walk with Max down to the lake, where the air was sharp and cold, and let the wind sting my face. I needed it. I needed to feel something besides betrayal. And somewhere deep down, I started thinking not just about what Daniel had done, but what I needed to do next. I finally replied to Daniel after 3 days of silence. It wasn't a conversation. Just a sentence. Meet me Friday night. 6 p.m. At the house. We need to finish this. Lisa offered to come with me. Just in case, she said, and I appreciated it, but this wasn't her fight. This was mine. Friday came, and the sky was already bruising with rain when I pulled into our driveway. The house looked the same, but everything inside it had changed. Daniel was already inside, pacing in the living room when I opened the door. He looked nervous, but that same practiced charm tried to surface. Don't, I cut him off. Just don't. I tossed the printed texts on the table. Victor had sent more. Screenshots, voice messages. One from Tasha, joking about how easy it was to keep both men in the dark. You knew, didn't you? I said, staring him down. That there were others. He hesitated, and that was all the answer I needed. Jesus, Daniel. I stood by you. I went to therapy with you. I defended you to people who said I should leave. And the whole time you were hiding this? Still seeing her. I was scared, he mumbled. No, I snapped. You were selfish. You didn't care who you destroyed as long as you kept getting what you wanted. The front door creaked open. It was Lisa. Hey, she said quietly. I didn't want to intrude, but I saw your car, and then someone else stepped in behind her. Tasha. And behind her, Victor. They all stood there, the 4 of us frozen in this horrible, accidental collision. You invited her? I asked Daniel, my voice rising. He shook his head quickly. No, I swear, I didn't know. I came for Victor, Tasha said, arms crossed, eyes sharp. He said he was coming to confront Daniel. I didn't realize we'd be walking into a domestic stage play. Lisa stepped between us. Maybe we should all just, but the dam broke. You lied to me, I shouted at Daniel. Again and again. You made me think I was crazy for suspecting anything. You begged me to stay while you were building a whole second life behind my back. Tasha smirked. Oh please, Anna. Like you didn't want to believe it. You're just mad you finally ran out of excuses for him. Victor glared at her. You don't get to talk. Daniel tried to speak, tried to reach for me, but I stepped back. You need to go, I said. All of you. No, Victor said. Not until you know. Daniel paid her rent for 3 months. He's been seeing her this entire time. Even during therapy. Daniel looked like he'd been punched. You told me it was over, I whispered. I was trying to end it, he mumbled, voice shaking. She threatened to tell you, to show up, so you paid her off? Anna, I didn't know what else to do. The room went quiet. Then Lisa, bless her heart, finally said what needed to be said. This man doesn't love you. He loves the control. He loves the comfort. He loves the safety net you gave him. But he doesn't respect you, Anna. And you know that. And I did. Something in me broke open. Not with rage. Not even with grief. Just clarity. I looked Daniel in the eye. We're done. You can't fix this. You don't even want to. You want the illusion of forgiveness without the work. He opened his mouth. No, I said. Don't say another word. I'm not your wife anymore. I turned to Victor. Thank you for telling me. I hope you get out too. He gave a tight nod. Already started packing. Tasha rolled her eyes and left, muttering something under her breath. Daniel stood there like he was made of stone. Lisa walked me out. Outside, it had started to rain. It wasn't dramatic. Just steady, cold. Real. As we reached my car, Lisa looked at me. You okay? I nodded. Not yet. But I will be. The weeks that followed were quiet. I filed for divorce. I moved into a small apartment on the other side of town. Max adjusted quickly. Dogs are good like that. Daniel tried calling. I blocked him. The silence was hard. The empty bed was harder. But slowly, I began to rebuild. I started journaling again. Went on long walks without checking my phone. Lisa and I started going to yoga, which I hated at first, but it gave me something to focus on besides what I'd lost. And eventually, I realized something. I didn't miss him. I missed the version of him I had created in my mind, the man I thought he was. But that man never existed. I'm not angry anymore. Just free. If you asked me today how I feel, I'd say this. I mourned a man who never loved me the way I loved him. And now, I love myself enough to never let that happen again. And that's where I am. Not at the end, but finally at peace.